All right, this is the Orthodox Study Bible. It is a Bible full of study notes that are of the Eastern Orthodox bent. There are lots of notes about Mary, about icons, about the sacraments, about free will and predestination, all that kind of jazz. What the Bible means according to the Eastern Orthodox Church. You know, that's what it is, study Bible. We're going to look at two verses which have no notes. Two verses which are really important, which are words of Christ. And the Eastern Orthodox who compiled this Bible, who wrote the notes, decided, we don't need to talk about that. So they are in John 6. Now the first one is John 6:44. No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up at the last day. That's pretty explicit. No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up at the last day. That right there contains all the elements of tulip. No one can come to me. There's your T. With your total depravity, no man can come because men are dead in their sins. The heart is wicked, and the heart is deceitful and desperately wicked. Who can know it? You know, you can't come to Christ like that unless the Father who sent me draws him. Well, there's your unconditional election, because you have to be chosen to be, and then you the limited atonement, because who does Christ die for except for those whom he has chosen? Then the irresistible grace, which he has to be drawn. And I will raise him up at the last day. There's your P. There is your perseverance of the saints. So no one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up at the last day. Contains all the elements of Augustinianism or Calvinism or Lutheranism, whatever you want to call it. It completely rejects the semi-Pelagian doctrine of the Eastern Orthodox Church, and they have nothing to say about it. You would think such an important verse where Jesus Christ says, no man can come to me except, would have a note, but it doesn't. So the next verse is John 6:65, where Jesus restates what he just said. Here it is, 6:65. And he said, therefore I have said to you, no one can come to me unless it has been granted to him by my Father. So in this one, you're not just drawn, but it has to be granted to you by the Father. It's a gift. Salvation is a gift. Coming to Jesus is a gift. And unless that gift is given to you, you cannot come to Christ. And look at that. There is no note on this verse. This says verse 60 to 66, but 65 is not covered in this little note. This note is all about the sacrament, eating the blood, or eating the body and drinking the blood. It's all about that. It's not about salvation. It's not about who can come to Christ. Not about when Jesus said it has to be granted. None of that here. So these are two very important verses about Christ, about salvation through Christ, and who can be saved. And the Eastern Orthodox said, doesn't matter. It's not worth talking about. Now we're going to look at some other verses here where they did talk about it. And we're going to go, first of all, to Romans 9. Romans 9, 10 to 13, their note on it. All right, both Jacob and Esau were born of Isaac and Rebekah. Yet only Jacob is considered the seed of Abraham. Jacob's position is clearly not the result of mere human lineage, but is secured because he is the child of promise. Both Jacob and Esau were called to salvation, for God loves all equally. Esau I have hated. This does not mean God did not love Esau. Rather, God foresaw the wickedness Esau would choose and hated it. Likewise, God foresaw Jacob's faith and obedience and knew Jacob would serve his purposes. Now, that is in direct contradiction to what the words of Jesus just said. No man can come to me except the Father which has sent to me, draw him. And I will raise him on the last day. And again, no man can come to me except it is granted to him of the Father. And here they say, both Jacob and Esau were called to salvation, for God loves all equally. This does not mean Jacob did not love Esau. Rather, God foresaw the wickedness of Esau and the wickedness Esau would choose and hated it. Likewise, God foresaw Jacob's faith and obedience and knew Jacob would serve his purposes. So this obliterates any notion of God's sovereignty. Now our salvation is based on, or our chosenness, our predestination, our electness is based on our foreseen works. Whereas Jesus had just said in John 6, no man can come to me except it is granted to him by the Father, except he is drawn to me by the Father. So you have a contradiction in these notes and in the words of Christ. And to me, it's really shocking that they have nothing to say Nothing to say about these very important verses. In fact, all they can focus on in this chapter 6, all they can focus on is the eating the bread, eating the body, and drinking the blood. That's what it says here. Eat his flesh, drink his blood. And right below that it says, no one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up at the last day. Now, there are many more notes in there that one could look at that could show the foolishness of their doctrine and how it contradicts the words of Christ about salvation, about who can come to him. You know, the Orthodox believe in free will, and they believe that the free will means that man can choose anything. He can choose good, he can choose evil. It's a libertarian free will. Your will isn't restricted in any way, and that is just dumb and foolish. The will doesn't work that way. The will is conditioned by things that have gone before. It's conditioned by your environment. And as fallen men, it is conditioned by our fallenness, so that man can now only choose evil. The wicked go astray from the womb, says the Bible. The heart is deceitful above all things, is desperately wicked. God himself says, the imagination of man's heart is only evil continually from his youth, in Genesis 9. So, it's just really surprising that the Orthodox have nothing to say when Christ says, no man can come to me except the Father which has sent me draw him, and I will raise him up the last day. And like I said, that verse holds all the 5 points of Calvinism, all of the tulip, all of the 5 heads of the canons of Dort. It holds them all. And the Orthodox have nothing to say about it. It's pretty sad.